Before we explore the fall of the kingdom of heaven further, it is crucial to distinguish between the anointed cherub and the beings often conflated with her, the serpent, the dragon, the devil, and Satan. Many assume these entities are one and the same, but Scripture reveals otherwise. Jesus himself provides distinction in John 8:44. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. The terms serpent, dragon, devil, and Satan symbolize self and self-love, a state of being that is in direct opposition to God. This self-focus is the illusion of separation that embraces the darkness of the negative ground. The anointed cherub, however, was perfect in all her ways until iniquity was found in her. Ezekiel 28:15. She was created in beauty and wisdom, dwelling in the holy mountain of God, yet corruption took root within her, leading to her downfall. This stands in contrast to the devil, who was a liar from the very beginning. Understanding this distinction is key as we move forward. Let us return to man as he was before Adam and Eve. These predecessors of the two, Adam and Eve, were as beasts of the field, yet they worshipped. The real question is, why did they worship? What did these vessels of wrath, raised for destruction, have that would cause them to worship, as a group, any god? We know that this world only exists as a tool for the redemption of the fallen kingdom. Everything that has or ever will transpire on this planet has only to do with one thing: the fall and redemption of the kingdom of God. Before the fall, the entities we call vessels of wrath existed in the negative ground as essences in opposition to the positive ground, to give definition to God's mirror image. These essences had no awareness of their nature and certainly would not have worshipped anything, at least not until something changed in the very ground of their being. They were formed by God as all things are, but they were not of the same divine substance as the angels or the kingdom of heaven. The angels in the kingdom were created in the positive ground, filled with divine light and order, whereas the vessels of wrath were brought forth in the negative ground, a space of opposition, formed to give contrast to the definition of the divine existence. The vessels of wrath were created hollow and void of all divine light. They were not created for honor, but to serve a different purpose, to fulfill the grand design of redemption by existing as the antithesis of divine love and harmony. As the potter molds the clay, he chooses what will be shaped for honor and what will be shaped for dishonor. Their existence, though dark and devoid of knowledge, was part of a greater design. Hath not the potter power over the clay, of the same lump, to make one vessel unto honor and the other unto dishonor? Romans 9:21. The world was one of limitless darkness, without knowledge of any sort. They existed in a state of unconscious being, unaware of what or why they were. Then a remarkable event occurred. Light appeared in the negative ground, a light such as had never been seen. Suddenly, the world of darkness and emptiness was alive with illumination and wonder. The light emanated from beings unlike any that they had ever seen before. The vessels of wrath were in utter amazement, unable to comprehend or describe these incredible beings of light. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. 2 Corinthians 11:14. The redemption of the fallen kingdom has progressed through stages, and even today, we do not fully know what went before us. Thus, we return to the appearance of the angels, the incredible bringers of light. The entire falling of the angels was and remains a mystery, not only to the vessels of wrath, but also to the angels themselves. We must remember that before their fall, the angels did not understand their true nature. After they fell, they had to begin defining themselves through separation. They could no longer access the positive. It was now only a memory. All they had was the negative. And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day. Jude 1:6. They realized their superiority over the vessels of wrath, but this fallen realm had now become their home. Thus, they set out to rule it. The vessels of wrath saw the Anointed Cherub and her followers and called them gods. This notion of gods was fostered by the angels themselves, and compared to the dark legions of the negative ground, they certainly seemed divine. They sacrificed unto devils, not to God, to gods whom they knew not, to new gods that came newly up, whom your fathers feared not. Deuteronomy 32:17. It is fascinating how the ancient people describe these beings as gods, and yet modern interpretation suggests that the old gods were mere myths or extraterrestrial beings. Regardless, the fallen angels began organizing humanity by positioning themselves as objects of worship. Worship was introduced through fear. The fallen angels manipulated early humans into fearing their surroundings. To offset their terror, they were taught to plead with the gods for protection from evil and provisions for good. Thus, the illusion of worship was established. The false belief that by worshiping a god sufficiently, they would be rewarded. For the Lord is great and greatly to be praised. He is to be feared above all gods. For all gods of the nations are idols, but the Lord made the heavens. Psalms 96, 4-5. In the era of the gods, each deity was assigned dominion over a specific domain. Gods of war, love, fertility, and death. The people sought to favor these gods, which bound them into controlled groups. This was essential for the fallen angels, as control solidified their domain. An unexpected consequence arose among the fallen angels: rebellion. The Anointed Cherub had not anticipated that those who followed her would seek to be as she was. Just as God had not foreseen his creation's rebellion, the cherub faced her own defiance among the ranks. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? Isaiah 14:12. The fallen angels desired to be equals, and so began the wars of the gods. Rival factions of fallen angels commanded their respective human subjects to fight for dominion over one another. These beings, once heavenly, had fully embraced their new role as rulers of darkness. Each fallen angel ruled over a designated region. serving as its God. They appointed kings, granting them power in exchange for controlling the people. The system was structured. The fallen angel was the God, the king was the enforcer, and the people were the subjects. The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, "Let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us." Psalms 2:2-3. Then came the buildings, the houses of worship. The temples stood as physical manifestations of control, places where the people came to pay homage to their false gods. The illusion was complete. Worship had been institutionalized. True worship is not an external ritual, nor is it bound by temples, sacrifices, or fear-based devotion. Worship is a state of being, an internal alignment with God's Spirit and truth. As Jesus declared, "But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father seeketh such to worship him. God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth." John 4:23-24. To worship in spirit means to be in complete unity with God's love, living in a state of surrender, truth, and divine connection. Worship is not about bowing before an idol, nor does it exist in the fear of divine punishment. It is the natural state of one who dwells in God's presence. God is love, and he that dwelleth in love dwelleth in God, and God in him. 1 John 4:16. In contrast, the fallen ones impose worship as an institution of control, binding people to systems of fear and external devotion. They created an illusion that worship required physical offerings, submission to earthly rulers, and servitude to deities who demanded sacrifice. Yet, this was not the Creator's intent. Paul confirms the true nature of worship in Romans 12:1. "I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service." To be love as the Father is love is to be in a constant state of worship. There is no need for temples or intercessors, only the surrender of self in alignment with the divine truth. The illusion of worship had been crafted to control, but the true Creator's purpose remains unshaken. Worship, in its truest form, is the alignment of the soul with divine love, free from the manipulations of the fallen. It is not something to be performed, it is something to be lived, as love itself is the highest form of worship. Worship is not about rituals, fear, or submission to external powers. It is the act of being in divine love, living in harmony with God's Spirit. When one abides in love, they are in a perpetual state of worship, aligned with the Creator's intent. This world is not about false gods, the kings, or the temples. It is about the fall and redemption of the kingdom of heaven. The fallen angels had imposed order upon the vessels of wrath, establishing themselves as divine rulers. Yet, even in their dominion, their fate remained sealed. Their rebellion against the Most High had only secured their inevitable destruction. "I am the Lord, and there is none else. There is no God beside me. I girded thee, though thou hast not known me." Isaiah 45:5. Until next time, keep seeking, keep growing, and remember, you are love.